Hello everyone, Andy here, and here's what you can look forward to in today's episode. In today's episode, in Team Season Preview 19 out of 32, I was joined by Pittsburgh Steelers fans Freddie Hall and Freddie Harper-Davis as we preview the team's upcoming season. Freddie Hall discusses the off-season additions.
But in summary, we have a really amazing team if it was 2018.
Freddie Harper-Davis discusses whether this could be Mike Tomlin's final season as head coach.
Yeah, I completely agree, to be honest, and I think we're almost singing from the same hymn book about it feels a bit like a half in, half out.
As both Freddies predict the team's overall record in our win-loss-tie segment. Hope you all enjoy. Hello and welcome back to the Across the Pod NFL podcast. I am, as ever, your host today, Andy Davis, and we're doing another team's season preview. And the team today we are focusing on is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, with me, I've got two returning guests, well known to our podcast by now for covering the Steelers. First of all, returning to the show is Freddie Harper-Davis. Freddie, how are you?
Evening, Andy, or morning, or afternoon, or good night, or whatever. But yeah, I'm good. I'm looking forward to another season. I can't believe the Hall of Fame game's already around the corner. I don't know where the off season suddenly disappeared to. And NFL's back around already. And yeah, I've quite enjoyed the off season of not being awake at 4 a.m. watching two teams I don't care less about.
Yeah, I mean, at time of recording, this will be out after the game starts. But we're currently 2 days away from the game between the Lions and the Chargers, a Hall of Fame game. I must also, whilst here, point out we must send our thoughts and family to the victims of the New York incident that happened last night, and of course it involved in the NFL building. So our thoughts and prayers are out for those who have had members of their family either passed away or severely injured. But our other guest today is another returning Steelers fan, someone I spent a week with in New Orleans back in February. It's the franchise tags, Freddie Hall. Freddie, nice to have you back on.
Thank you for having me, Andy. Nice to see you again, Freddie. I must have done something right in New Orleans for you to invite me back on. I didn't upset you too much. Or we had a good week though. I thought we got on all pretty well. We had a nice time, didn't we?
Yeah, I thought it was literally one of the best weeks of my life in terms of stuff we got to do as a group. Doing our own thing for our own podcast, but all both being there for the Fox Day when we were interviewing the likes of you and Sky were Rob Gronkowski, Julian Edelman for me and you and Sky and other people. I got to interview Terry Bradshaw, of course, the Steelers legend, and other things. Going to Radio Row every day, going to the opening night, and of course being in the stadium, not watching the game but watching it on a TV, but in the stadium. So we were there, but maybe not in the actual press box. But and even yourselves, you got to do some great work. In your podcast, you got to interview some great people, and it was all around there, and we got to have some fun as well along the way. We got to have some laughs and do some stuff that weren't NFL as well.
Yeah, no, it was a fantastic time. It feels like I echo Freddie's thoughts. It feels like this summer's gone quite quick. It feels like, I think it's because it got hot so early. It started early, but it already feels like it's tailing off, doesn't it? I suppose. But yeah, around the corner, the Hall of Fame game. Really excited about that. Back to kicking stuff off the Franchise Tag podcast very soon as well, which should be good fun. So yeah, it's been a nice restful summer, but ready to kick off back into NFL stuff now.
Speaking of the franchise tag as well, another member of the podcast, Adam Martin, came on our podcast, our Packers season preview. So check that out if you haven't already, for those listening or watching. Right, let's head in to the the Steelers 2025 off-season. So looking at the main ins and outs involving the Steelers this off-season, it includes re-signings and also free agency additions. You added DK Metcalf, Darius Slay Jr., or should I say Slay, Mason Rudolph, Jalen Warren, Scotty Miller, Robert Woods, Ben Skoranek, Juwan Thornhill, and then players that went out include the likes of Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Najee Harris, George Pickens, Mike Williams, as well as Dante Jackson, James Daniels, Landon Roberts, Van Jefferson, Larry Ogunjobi, and Preston Smith. And there was that trade involving both our teams in the Steelers and the Dolphins, where you acquired Jalen Ramsey and Johnny Smith, and we acquired Minka Fitzpatrick, who returns after just one season with the Dolphins all the way back in 2018. And then in the draft, you took in total 7 players, and the top 3 taken were defensive tackle Derek Harmon, 21st overall, Caleb Johnson, running back, 83rd overall, and Jack Sawyer, 123rd overall, as well as Yaya Black, Will Howard, Carson Bruner, and Dante Kent. Now, Freddie Harper-Davis, your take overall on the team's offseason?
Probably the most aggressive I think the Steelers have been pretty much in my lifetime. I think certainly in the last 10 to 15 years plus, it's been a big turnover. I'm a bit surprised about what they're doing. I kind of thought we might go full rebuild mode, ready for next year's draft in Pittsburgh, and then start from there and go from there. But we've sort of done this weird thing where we're sort of half rebuilding and half going all in, and I'm not quite sure which one we're doing and which one will actually work or not. I've got my doubts about this season, but we'll see. I don't have anything wrong with Aaron Rodgers on a 1-year deal, if I'm honest. He was the best available quarterback at the time. I don't think we could get any better realistically. And I quite like some of the other additions. Obviously, DK Metcalf's a great receiver. You can't complain about getting a player in of that quality, even with the very hefty price tag we've paid for him. We've obviously extended TJ Watt, which, yeah, is a good thing. It's pricey. I'm glad it's only a 3-year extension. I was a bit worried it could be longer than that. But I'm pretty happy with that. And then moving on, Minkah Fitzpatrick and bringing in Jalen Ramsey. Again, does that really turn the needle further for the Steelers? I'm not sure. So overall, probably like a 6 or 7 out of 10 for me for the off-season. I'm not quite sure whether it's going to work or not, but there is a little bit of hope that it may all come together and Mike Tomlin can get the best out of this roster.
Yeah, I mean, Freddie, your thoughts on it as well, because it was certainly a trade that was sort of came out of nowhere, quiet time of the off season. There was not much going on, and out of nowhere, your phone's telling you not the whole trade, just some bits. One thing you're hearing, the Steelers trade for Ramsey. The next thing it's the Dolphins are getting Fitzpatrick back. The next thing you know, Johnny Smith is going to the Dolphins. Sorry, from the Dolphins to the Steelers. It just all seemed to happen in very staggered parts of the same day, and in a real quiet part of the off season.
I think the initial trade getting Jalen Ramsey was obviously quite a coup, I suppose, and like I echo Freddie's sentiments with it's been the most active we've been in a very, very long time, and I think that initially when I saw Jalen Ramsey coming in, big coup. Then I saw that we're losing Minkah. I was like, oh well, I don't love that because I think Minkah's been fantastic for us. But what I've said about Minkah for the past few seasons is he doesn't really show up till about week 3 or 4. And then he does something absolutely fantastic. He'll have like a 2-interception game or something of that sort. And then it kicks him off for the rest of the season. He tends to be fantastic. And not last season before, it was a little bit later, and then he got a bit better towards it. And then last season, every game I felt like, oh, this is going to be the Minkah game that kicks him. This is going to be the Minkah game that kicks him. And it never really came. There wasn't really a game where I went, oh, wow, like we must have this player. And so when I thought about it in hindsight at the time, I was like, wow, I really don't like that. And also what's quite funny is I've just been gifted by Andrew, who's part of that, who Andy, is part of the Franchise Podcast, a signed Minkah Fitzpatrick jersey. And it's a pretty historic thing amongst our friendship group where we have the jersey curse. So pretty much whenever we gift each other jerseys or buy each other jerseys, that player either gets injured, leaves, retires. The history of this is Odell Beckham Jr. at the Giants. We got him. He bought a jersey. A few months later, went to the Browns. Antonio Brown, Vegas Raiders jersey. Never played a single game for the Raiders in the regular season. A Brady Patriots shirt, which then he went to the Buccaneers pretty much straight after that. And then I've just had a Minkah Fitzpatrick. So it was, as soon as I got that jersey, I thought I've definitely messed with the juju here. Something's going to happen. Getting Johnny Smith back in that trade, I mean, it's a decent acquire. I mean, he was fantastic at the Titans. Didn't really do anything at the Dolphins or the Patriots, really. It's nice depth. I think people are sort of going, he's going to be tight end 1 straight away, which I think is not going to be the case. I think Fryman's done way enough to be tight end 1. I think he's very underrated around the league. But in summary, we have a really, really amazing team. If it was 2018, this team would be winning the Super Bowl. It is a Harlem Globetrotter team of 2018. Aaron Rodgers, Darius Slay, Robert Woods, DK Metcalf, Jonnu Smith. I mean, he was doing pretty well at that point. I think if he had been drafted by then. So yeah, it would be wonderful, but we're not in 2018. We are in 2025, and it screams to me that this is the last push. This is the final push. And the more I thought about it today, knowing that I was going to come on this podcast, the more it does feel like if it feels a bit like Tomlin's swan song, to be honest with you. It feels like this might be his sort of retirement thing.
That's actually a really good way to talk about one of our talking points was about Mike Tomlin, because I found, you probably know more than me as Steelers fans, you are in amongst the fan base, but I found from outside looking in at Steelers fans on social media, it does feel like there's a growing frustration. Now, there's always that case of careful what you wish for, but the Steelers are every year 9-8, sometimes 10 wins, sometimes 8 wins, but it's been a recent trend of going 9-8, making the playoffs, go out in the first round, and we talk about it in person about that line where you're never going to be bad enough to get the first overall pick, you're never going to be good enough to win a Super Bowl. Now, these additions that they've made, I don't think is screaming winning a Super Bowl unless there's some sort of lightning in the bottle when they have one final great year, these players that have come in. But there seems to be a growing frustration from fans that almost, it feels like it can't keep going on the way it is. There's something needs to change, and they're just almost tired of going 9-8, and they'd almost rather have a 3-win season, completely start from scratch, and then go into the next year and go that way. Because let's not forget, last time really you had a top pick was probably Ben Roethlisberger, and even then that wasn't even in the top 5. So trying to think of the last time you had a top 5 pick in a draft is way before I watched the NFL. I don't know when that is, unless I'm completely missing 1 year. So and you've not been able to get the quarterback to replace Roethlisberger since he retired, because he was never bad enough for you to win 3 games. So in terms of Mike Tomlin, as great as he's been, he's not won a playoff game since, I believe, the 2016 season. And there was a loss to the Browns. That sort of ended their run of playoff losses or playoff drought. Was lost last couple of years in playoffs as well. Just what are your thoughts on Mike Tomlin? And Freddie, you alluded, then I'll stick with you. You alluded to a swan song. Do you think that if it's another 9-8 season, 8-9, maybe even 10-7 and miss the playoffs, do you think you kind of have referred to them, but do you think it is the final year for him as a Steelers head coach?
I think we've gotten, as a fan base, very comfortable. Well, actually, that's unfair because you've just said that there's a lot of people who are critical, but we have been victims of becoming very comfortable with mediocrity. We've been very comfortable with mediocrity for the last few seasons. I mean, he's been there 18 years and he's done a tremendous job. No doubt he's done an absolute tremendous job, a Hall of Fame coach. But the last time he had over 10 wins was 2020. We were 12-4. The last playoff win, like you alluded to, 2016 via the Chiefs, and went 11-5 that season. We've got to do more. We have to do more. Now, I think that the moves we've made signal we are doing more. We have made some big name moves. Whatever people feel about Aaron Rodgers, it is a big name move. It is, and it could it could really spark, like I said, lightning in a bottle for the Steelers for this season. But it's just a wait and see process. As you said a moment ago, I would be way more comfortable with winning 3 games or winning 12 plus games. I'm not interested anymore in being in that 8 to 10 region. There is no draft wise, there's no benefit unless you're aggressive in the draft going up, which we have been on occasion, but not in the important factors. The quarterbacks now that are coming out of college are more ready than ever to go and play in the NFL. And we should have got this sorted a long time ago. I say this on this podcast. I know I do every single time. And I say it in a lot of Steelers podcasts. We should have taken Jalen Hurts in the second one years ago. Now, I'm not saying Jalen Hurts would have been the player. Again, I always say this. Jalen Hurts wouldn't have necessarily been the quarterback that he's now become at the Steelers. But we should have been more prepared. We have never been prepared. And it felt like last year, there was a preparation. Okay, Fields starts for Wilson. Fields had a good go out. We brought Wilson back in. To a lot of Steelers fans being a bit upset about that because Fields had a good few games out for us. Wilson comes in, was fantastic for the most part, tailed off towards the end of the season, which we have historically done quite a lot now. And I thought, well, okay, well, we keep Fields and Fields starts. I'm comfortable he knows the system. We get, bringing DK Metcalf, players. Okay, he'd already moved on by the time we were starting to make these moves. But I saw then, okay, now I see a future. Do I see a future still with the Steelers? Yes and no. I think Will Howard is a really astute pick for where we got him. I'm not saying he's going to be the next Steelers main quarterback. I don't know yet, and I don't watch enough college football to be able to really sort of stamp my authority on that he can play in the big leagues. But it's a good pick, and it's worth taking the risk in them rounds for a player of that ability. But more on the Tomlin being there, I think. This just, like I said, the more I thought about it, this just screams to me, Tomlin going, let's put every single chip into the table. And if it doesn't happen, that's it. We're done. And I don't honestly think it's a Tomlin leaves and he goes somewhere else. I think it might be a flat out, I'm done. I spent 18 years at the Steelers. That is my legacy. And that's where I'm going to finish. I'm not going to go to a lesser team, maybe even than the Steelers. But we also need to get off our high horse on that as well. We have not been a very well-run franchise for a while now. When people poke fun at the Jets, we have been a more historic Jets. Let's say we've had a bit more storied history, but the Jets have got a great history as well, I suppose. So I just think this is it. It's chips all in. It's win now, and they've got to do it. They've got to prove it.
Yeah, I completely agree, to be honest, and I think we're almost singing from the same hymn book about. It feels a bit like a half in, half out. I mean, back at the start of the season when it looked like we'd signed Mason Rudolph, I was happy to go with Mason Rudolph and a low level draft pick for the year, win 4 or 5 games, maybe a bit more, and just get our quarterback next year in a draft that has got a couple of quarterbacks in it that I really like. And as you know, with college football, very often there's 1 or 2 players in their senior year that emerge to add to that list as well. So, yeah, I don't know. It feels very Steelers, but it also feels really un-Steelers. It feels like we're going to end up in that same position that we've finished every year, but we're doing it in a different way to get there. But we'll see. We might all be completely wrong, and the Steelers go on this generational run. I really like a lot of the players that we've got at our disposal. I thought Caleb Johnson was a really good draft pick. Somebody who I think improves our running back room from last year. Obviously, DK Metcalf, I think, is an improvement on Pickens. To be honest, I'm quite glad George Pickens is out of there because ever since he's been traded, it seems more and more like a very good decision to move him on. And I think Johnny Smith is not very exciting. I might have got the wrong player there, but I think the tight end room's not too bad. It's probably an improvement on last year. He's obviously somebody that Arthur Smith loves. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm sort of the same opinion as Freddie. Really, I'm optimistic, but also pessimistic. I'm in that. I think we're going to win 9 or 10 games again. Probably end up in the playoffs. We've got some more experience in there this year than we did maybe last year, so maybe that'll help us in the playoffs. But we can't do what we did last year and start off pretty well and then fade away, and then we get to wildcard weekend and we're all sat there thinking we've got no chance. We're going to lose this game by 3 scores. There's absolutely no way we've got any hope at all. I want to go into at least the end of the season thinking, yeah, we can at least win a game in the postseason.
I mean, we'll get onto the schedule later on, but I'd say the first 6 games are somewhat fairly reasonable. There's a couple of hard games, a couple of easy games. So you could, there's this world where you could start the season 3-2, 4-2, but of course it all hangs in a balance of one man, and that's Aaron Rodgers. Now, He comes in on a one-year deal. He's alluded to it being his final year of his career. Now, the thing with Aaron Rodgers is, I know stats aren't everything in life, this sport especially, but Rodgers was in the top 10 last season for both yards and touchdowns. So for a guy who looked bad, don't get me wrong, he wasn't the same Rodgers we're used to, but he still got put numbers in. And I think that it's one thing playing for a team with a dysfunctional sort of front office, or maybe bad, not bad O-line, but certainly one that wasn't great. To go to a team that has tons of never had a losing season, and the Tomlin is quite a stable franchise, but maybe not with aspirations of winning Super Bowls as it's seen in the last few years. But Rodgers has put up numbers still, despite it being a bad season. And there's some Jets fans, younger ones, who said he's the best quarterback they've seen play for their team, which probably shows more about who they've had in their quarterback room in the last 10, 15 years. But Rodgers, there's all these parallels with Brett Favre, and Brett Favre looked bad at the Jets, from what I've been told, before my time. Then he's gone to the Vikings, and obviously was it the championship game or the divisional round with the Vikings, and had that game against the Saints where he threw the interception when they should have ran it out for overtime or ran out for field goal position. And so Brett Favre had the same spell like Rodgers in the Jets, and then he comes to the Vikings and balls out. And I think that he's got Warren he can hand the ball off to. He's got DK Metcalf to throw to, Freiermuth as well. There's a part of me that thinks Rodgers could come out and have a really good year. Not MVP year, but I think certainly he could guide you guys to, I think the ceiling could be an 11-win season. You never know in the playoffs if he got that 11-win season. You never know. But I want to get your thoughts as Steelers fans on the move, because Jets fans will certainly tell you that he was not someone they really enjoyed having in the building. There was a lot of drama off the field as well as on it, and the Steelers go to obviously Mike Tomlin won't take any prisoners. He's dealt with enough egos over the years to be able to deal with these big characters. But Freddie Harper-Davis, your overall thoughts on the Rodgers move and how you think he'll do for the Steelers?
Meh is my overall opinion of Rodgers to the Steelers. I've been meh all summer. He took months and months and months to actually make a decision, which I don't really like. I like if you're going to be all in, you've got to be all in on this final season. I don't like people dragging it out just for the sake of dragging it out. But I don't know. But as you allude to, his stats last year weren't too bad, but then Russell Wilson's weren't too bad. And in the year before in Denver, and obviously he was heavily criticised. And yeah, in the main for us, he did all right, but it tailed off big time. And I'm a little bit sceptical that it might be the bit like the same with Aaron Rodgers. But you never know. He's in a settled franchise. He obviously was at the Packers, who were historically quite a similar team to the Steelers. And he was very successful there. And as it's only a one-year deal, I doubt he'll be there much longer. He might not have time to fall out with everybody in the franchise. So that's a potential positive. Hopefully he doesn't fall out before the end of the season. We can keep going. I think there's still some gas left in the tank, but I'm not sure how much. But yeah, you can't really complain about having a Hall of Fame quarterback as your starter, even if he is very old. And we've had a few of those very old Hall of Fame level quarterbacks in the last few years. And that's exactly why I think some Steelers fans are also a bit frustrated, because we've had these the last few years and we haven't actually got anywhere. So it feels very Colts of sort of 5 or 6 years ago, where they were trying Phillip Rivers and I've forgotten his name, but the one from the Falcons. That's Matt Ryan, where they just constantly won sort of 9 or 10 games. They didn't get any further than that. So yeah, I'm okay with Rodgers being in Pittsburgh, but am I over the moon? Am I gutted? Neither of those really.
Yeah, I pretty much echo what Freddie was saying there. I mean, I know it was a bad season last year, 5-12 for the Jets, but he scored 20 plus points 10 times. We only scored 20 plus points 8 times last year, just to put put something on, an onus on that. And Garrett Wilson, okay, a lot better than George Pickens. Breece Hall was in and out an injury though. It was probably neither team had very good offenses really, but he played better down the stretch from week 10, really. I mean, he was 2-6, but he lost 3 of them by 6 or under, and they did play 6 playoff teams. They played Broncos, Vikings, Bills twice, Steelers, Texans, and Rams. So it was a tough schedule for the Jets last year. And, he was coming off an incredibly serious injury. And it's very obvious now he isn't mobile. And nor do I want Aaron Rodgers to be. I don't need Aaron Rodgers to be mobile. We've got enough players and we've got enough talent that can take that weight off him. Yes, it is a massive thing in the NFL now that your quarterback does need a bit of that. And if we were resetting and this was a rookie quarterback, I would want that. But it's Aaron Rodgers. Like, we know that's not going to be him. He's 41 years old. He's not going to move. Well, he barely moves at all now from when we watched him last year. It's the nostalgia in me goes that this is a really great move. And it is the first time, really, I feel like that Rodgers has chose a franchise where he's like, I want to play for him. I want to play for Mike Tomlin. I want to play for that team. It didn't feel that way really with the Jets. The Packers, yeah, he loved it and he did very successfully, but there was lots of controversy of him and Mike McCarthy. Then there's obviously the stuff with Matt LaFleur and then drafting Jordan Love and all of that. Whereas, he's come to the Steelers and yeah, I agree completely with Freddie. I hated how long it took. And not because I was like excited to want it. I just was like, what's the point? But what are we doing here? We need to get the guy in the building and let's get going. The difference is that he is a 41-year-old veteran. He has been there. He has seen it all. He doesn't necessarily need all of it. He doesn't need as much work as the rest of the quarterbacks do around the league, I suppose, within a system. And also, we forget that we're in an Arthur Smith system, but it is a predominantly a run system as well. Now, he is going to have to change that. And that might be, in fact, you say about I hope he's only going to be, yes, I hope he doesn't fall out with anyone. I think the only person he may fall out with is Arthur Smith, because I think Arthur Smith will want to run the ball more and Aaron will want to throw more. But I think it might be a good tandem of it. And I think, Tomlin as that mediator could work to everyone's advantage, really. So I don't hate it. I'm not big on Aaron himself. I think it's gone very strange in the last few years with himself. I think he is a lot more interested in sort of the media darling of it now rather than the game. But then we don't know what's in the players' minds, do we? We don't know. And he's joining a team now that's got tons of experience on it now. A solid defense, a solid defense. And I'm sorry, a better defense than the Jets have. And I wouldn't have said that 2 years ago. But the Jets defense was all right last year. It wasn't great. Whereas our defense does for every season. I think it's something that is now become a little bit underrated about us, is that we do have a great defense every time. And we've only added more talent to it, added more experience to it and more depth to it. And actually like good depth. Like there's been some plays where I've gone, oh, that's a good signing. But like, I don't know, maybe whereas I look at our defense now and, you whittle off 6 names. All right, Ramsey and Slay aren't the players they were. Still top corners. Joey Porter, one of the better young corners in the league. Cam Hayward, obviously older, but electric. TJ Watt, obviously, we've just re-signed. But for me, still best edge rusher in this league. He can look on the other side and be confident that defense is going to do a job for him. And he's just going to need to go out there and just perform to his highest ability.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be an interesting watch. I think certainly as a neutral, it's going to be great to watch from the outside looking in. I mean, I am a Rodgers guy. I'm a Rodgers fan, but I'm intrigued to see how he does in the black and yellow. Now, let's head into our next section, which will be our win-loss tie. So in this section, of course, for those who haven't seen this podcast before, each fan who comes on predicts their team's overall record by going through each game and answering with a win-loss tie answer. Now, last year, the Steelers went 10-7. Now, Freddie, you were both on last season predicting your team's record. Do either of you, by chance, remember what your prediction was record-wise a year ago?
I put very good money on. We both said about 9-10 wins.
Well, you both said 10-7, so you're both bang on between you both. You got the exact prediction when it came to the record. So you'd be hoping for to make it 2 years out of 2.
Yeah, we can. I think we work on the same wavelength. I think me and Freddie.
Yeah, if we aim for 10 wins again, we're probably not far off from reality. So yeah.
Well, let's move on to week 1, and this is amazing against the Jets. It's as if the NFL didn't plan this. on the road to MetLife Stadium as Rodgers takes on his old team. Freddie Harper-Davis, will go to you first. Win, lose, or tie?
Win. I think we go to the Jets and we beat them.
Okay, so then week 2, it's your first home game of the season as you host the Seattle Seahawks. Freddie Hall, win, lose, or tie?
I think we win that, but it's going to be a hard-fought contest. Yeah, they'll be still finding their feet with Sam Darnold. Cooper Kupp, we'll see what happens with him. They're a decent defense, but they're not hitting the heights they could do just yet. It depends how they're looking in the first week. Games like this, you want to play early. These can be 50-50 games later down the stretch where momentum counts.
Well, week 3 is back with you, Freddie Harper-Davis, and you are on the road to the New England Patriots.
I think this will be our first loss. I think that the Patriots are a team that the Steelers, even when it's not been Belichick or even when they're not been at their best, they seem to find a way to beat us. And I quite like what they're building over there in New England. I think they're a sneaky good team this year, and I think they could surprise a few people. I really like Drake May. He's one of my very favourite young quarterbacks coming through the league. I think that the Patriots are going to be pretty good, and I think we'll struggle there. So I think Patriots win.
Playoff team, I think, this year.
Don't say that.
There will be. There's always 3 teams, 4 teams that drop out of the playoffs, and 3. From season to season, there's 3 teams that were in it last year go out. 3 teams that go into it this season, the next season, and I think Patriots is one of them teams that could go.
No, I sadly agree. We've got Mike Tomlin, Mike Vrabel there. I just feel like it's a good team. It's going to cause us some problems. So week 4 is the Steelers heading to Dublin for the first ever NFL game in Dublin. Before we go into any of that, Freddie Hall, I know you've got a Airbnb planned for Dublin, provided we can get the media credentials.
Yeah, we definitely haven't booked it yet, so you might be a bit more ahead on it than I am. But yes, we are both planning to be there.
Yeah. How excited are you to see not only an NFL game closer to home than maybe America is, or maybe even Madrid or Berlin, but to see your team for potentially the first time in person for you?
It is the first time. To be honest with you, when I was doing the record, I completely forgot this game was in Dublin. Completely forgot. So I was like, "Oh, we'll go to the Vikings and this, that, and the other." But I'm dead excited. I love these European trips. I love the away days for it. Like, they're so much fun, and it'll be the first time I've seen the Steelers play. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited to get back over to Dublin. It's such an electric city. Dead expensive there, but it is a very, very fun city. And what's fun about doing the stuff like this is seeing everybody, so seeing yourself. We'll obviously there'll be a few of us going over from the podcast, seeing our friend Shane over there as well, part of the Irish show. And yeah, it'll be an unreal atmosphere. I know people who are going who aren't Steelers fans from like our German friends have bought tickets to go because it's going to be so good. Like I think this is going to be this game might be like the biggest spectacle of the season outside of obviously the Super Bowl. It might be like the biggest thing, I think, because obviously Ireland at the minute and Ireland with the Americans is such a connection. Every American person thinks they've got some Irish roots or likes to think they have because it's the popular thing at the minute, which in fact a lot of them do. Of course they do, but Ireland's very much in the eye of the public at the minute, and for good reason as well, because we've got some fantastic people and artists and bands and actors and coming out of that country at the moment. So yeah, sadly I have got us at a loss, but I'm going to change it to a win because it's on neutral ground and it'll feel like a Steelers home game. I'm going to change it.
Okay, interesting. And a shout out to Lucas. So I know we'll be listening to this episode.
Big shout out to Lucas. What a guy. Great guy.
Only met him once before, very, very briefly, but we've recently been talking on WhatsApp, and so he'll be there. And I don't know whether she'll be there, but of course, your other half is a Vikings fan. So this could be, if she is there, this could be a bit of a rivalry in the household.
Yeah, she hasn't been invited, unfortunately, but it is a little bit of a rivalry in the household, I suppose. But yeah, she loves it. Well, she's hopefully going to come to one of the games in London, so she won't be completely missing out. But she knows that it's a work trip in inverted commas. So
that is the thing. I mean, my other half, Jess, she wants to go to the Madrid game, or at least go to Madrid, and I keep saying to her that. You're going to be on your own most of the day because we are, hopefully if we get media creds, we'll be out doing stuff all day and we only have about probably 3 or 4 hours spare, if that, each evening, so it's, she may come to that, but I do keep telling her I am there to work, but, she may well come for the ride. Other Freddie Harper-Davis, of course, you also haven't seen the Steelers play before. Are you going to the game?
No, I won't be. Dublin's way too expensive when you're not in the media. So, I won't be. I will be at a London game, though. So I'll hopefully see at least Freddie at those. But I don't need to see you, Andy. So I can see you at Cardiff away for Plymouth. So that's all right.
Forgot what I was going with that now. You going to throw me off there.
The Browns is the next game.
Which London game are you planning to go to? That was it.
The Jags game at Wembley. I think I've done both Wembley and Spurs a few times. I think that the Jags game there is possibly going to be the most exciting. I obviously don't want to watch the Browns, so that threw me off there, and I'm not that bothered by the Jets either. So when it's not the Steelers, I quite like. I have a bit of a soft spot for the Jags. Seen the Jags in London so many times now that's my preference. So yeah,
it's against Denver, right? It's a Denver game.
Is it Denver or is it the Rams?
Rams.
Oh, yeah, no, it's the Rams. Yeah, it's the Rams. Denver's against Jets, right?
Yeah,
that's what. Yeah, I've got general admission tickets for the Jags Rams game, so I will be there as a fan rather than in the media.
Oh, and by the way, Steelers to beat the Browns at home. You can move on.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
I mean, sticking finally with that Rams Jag game, I just can't wait for that game because I'm a massive Sean McVay fan. So get to see him do his thing in London will be really fun.
Sorry to interrupt you, Freddie. You said that you think we'll beat the Vikings in Dublin.
Oh, no, I don't. I think the Vikings will beat us. I think they've got my favourite defensive coordinator in the league, and I think he'll stifle us.
That's exactly what I put the loss, but I'm changing it. I'm gonna go on a whim and change it because I think it will feel like a home game. It'll be electric, and that might tip the scales.
So you're saying a win or loss for the Vikings game? I'm lost now.
I'm going to say win, but Freddie Harper-Davis thinks we're going to lose.
Okay, so then sticking with you, Freddie Hall, for Week 7, it's a AFC North battle as you travel on the road to the Cincinnati Bengals.
We'll lose that one. I think that might be a bit of a shootout. I really am not that hot still on the Bengals, and that's not because of the division thing at all. I really don't think they've done anything to address their defense, to be honest. I don't think they've done enough. There's a lot of holes in their defense, like a lot. And Joe's don't get me wrong, Joe Burrow is the top 3 quarter. He's so fun to watch. And I love him as a character as well. I have just watched the series 2 of the quarterback series that has just been on. And in that, you're just like, oh, God, I like you. You are a really, really good quarterback. And they've got T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are fantastic. And Chase Brown, I really like Chase Brown as well. They're running back. So I think it'll be another year for them of explosive offense and really poor defense, unfortunately. But that's why this will be a bit of a shootout. I don't think we can stop Joe, but equally, I don't know if we can score enough points against the Bengals to stop Joe.
I kind of know how you feel with Burrow because obviously being a division rival quarterback, you don't want to, see that team win. But I always felt that every week I was watching the Patriots when Tom Brady was doing his thing. I used to hate the Patriots, but I couldn't help but like Tom Brady. I just couldn't help but watch him and just admire the kind of way he conducts himself, the drive he has, the whole story behind being the 199th overall pick, and even Michigan, going back to the older days where he took a while to get a starting job there. I just found that, as much as, I used to hate the fact they won all the time and used to always win that division, I always found that I just couldn't help but be endeared by Tom Brady and just be in awe of his drive. Week 8 is an interesting one. Probably the one that certainly Packers fans probably earmarked most of the year, as Aaron Rodgers faces his old team, I believe for the first time as well, in Pittsburgh. Freddie Harper-Davis, win, lose, or tie.
I just to very quickly throw back to the Bengals game. That's a Thursday night game straight after a divisional game, which on the road as well, which traditionally the Steelers do struggle with. So no, I agree with the loss there. And then we've got a bit of a gap. Then we've got like a mini 10-day gap, but we've also got a really early bye as well, straight after the Vikings game, which may come back to hurt us later in the season. This one's hard because I think the Packers are a better team than the Steelers, if I'm being completely honest. And I like Jordan Love, but it's a night game. The Steelers at home on a night game. And we're wearing those 1930s throwbacks, which have been a bit controversial in terms of what people think of them. If have mixed opinions, I'm not that keen, but I like the fact that they've thrown back to a really old era and not just gone, oh, here's a throwback from like 2007 or something. So I like that. My head's telling me Packers, my heart's telling me Steelers. I think I'm going to go with my heart on this one. I'm going to say Steelers, but only just. I think that'll be a really good game.
Well, yeah, we had, as mentioned before, we had a friend of Freddie's and the franchise tag, Adam, come on for our Packers season preview. He also said Steelers. He also could see Aaron Rodgers getting one back on his old team, and definitely will be a bit of that in his mind, I'm sure, Aaron Rodgers to stick one to his former team.
Gosh, I'm the only one that has us losing them. I think we'll lose.
Interesting.
I mean, the Packers are a very good team with no notable stars, and yet they seem to play tremendously. It's sort of a little bit like it's a bit like the Arsenal front nine the last like 2 years, where everyone's like, you need a strike, and you go, or do they have 6 exceptional good goal scorers? And they don't, and they've got so many areas of attack. It's like, yeah, you've got all these young, decent wide receivers, and no one's a star, but have they actually got like 4 really, really good wide receivers who sort of just all complement each other and have different elements? I think Packers are really enjoyable to watch, and I echo Freddie Harper-Davis in saying Jordan Love. I really enjoy Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love's a really great quarterback. And you say Aaron's going to be up for this. I bet you anything that Matt LaFleur's going to be up for this. He'll want to crush Rodgers under his heel, because I think there's a little bit of bad blood between them. I don't know. That's just me speculating. I'm not saying that I don't know any truth in that. But yeah, I think it's a tough game. It's a tough game playing the Packers.
That's going to be. I think that is. I believe is it post London game, or is it not post London game? It might be the weekend after. But either way, I think it's prime time. It's going to be certainly electric to watch. Week 9, you're staying at home, but this time against the Indianapolis Colts.
Big old W. Big win. What
are the Colts doing is what I want to know, because I don't see a plan, to be honest.
They haven't got a quarterback, have they? Like, if Anthony Richardson, if he plays like he played last year, it's not good. And Daniel Jones, we know what it is. It's a little bit. It was exactly what you were saying earlier, Freddie. Like it's trial and error quarterback for them. Feels like very trial and error. And I think Daniel Jones will probably be starting by this point. Is it a better situation in Indianapolis than it was in New York? Probably the exact same, to be honest with you. Yeah, I think it's. I'm not big on the Colts. I'm not been big on the Colts for a long time, and I've been told repeatedly. But what about Michael Pittman? What about his person? What about his person? I'm like, I just don't see it. I don't see it, to be honest.
No, I agree. I think they'll have a difficult year in 2025. Freddie Harper-Davis, back with you for week 10. You're traveling to LA and taking on the Los Angeles Chargers.
And I think the Los Angeles Chargers, this will be a loss, to be honest. Again, a really good all-round team. This is another team, a bit like the Packers, that have got a lot of good players on both sides of the ball and a great coach. every year we go, oh, this is the Chargers are going to be good this year. And I really do think that this year is the year that it's going to come together. I like this team. Another quarterback I really like. I say it's a lot in the NFL, but Justin Herbert's another one who I just want to see him in a really good team and do really well and actually see them win games. I think the Chargers are one of those teams that nobody really dislikes, other than obviously your divisional rivals. But it's a team that most people think, yeah, we've got a bit of a soft spot. And I would like to see the Chargers do well this season, and I think they'll beat the Steelers.
Okay, so back with you, Freddie Hall, for week 11. And it's once again the Bengals, but this time at home.
I always say, for the most part, every year I split the win-losses between all our divisions because it does tend to happen that way. It's not very often that we clean sweep anyone or anything like that. But this year, I have changed it a little bit. So the Bengals, I'm going to say we win this one. I think we do split the difference with the Bengals this season. I think we lose the first one, we win this one.
Okay, so week 12 is back with you, Freddie Harper-Davis, and you are on the road to the Chicago Bears.
We'll lose because we always lose at Soldier Field. It's one of these weird places that very strange things happen. I think, was it the last time where we had a goal line cock up and it went all the way down the other end of the field and we lost the game? We have a very, very strange record in Chicago. But again, the Bears are another team that I don't think they're going to be that great this year, but there's certainly some foundations in place there that team's going to get better, I think. So, yeah, I'm a bit split on this one, but I think the Bears probably win it.
Okay, so then Freddie Hall, in week 13, you are on the road. You are at home to the Buffalo Bills.
We lose that one. We lose that. I actually think we're going to beat the Bears. I think you're right. I think the Bears are a year away from probably being something really special. But I think Caleb still needs to find his feet and Ben Johnson will still need to find his feet. Bills, yeah. It's the Buffalo Bills. We're going to lose to them. They're a very, very good team. They're a Super Bowl contender this year. That's dead set.
Well, week 14 is against, on the road, the Baltimore Ravens, who have literally announced in the last quarter of an hour that tight end Isaiah Likely has rolled his ankle at the end of practice and will miss multiple weeks. MRI tomorrow, so probably back at this point, but either way, win, lose or tie.
Oh, I hate predicting Ravens games because they're always one score, close ones, and we got battered in the playoffs, and I really want to see Ravens away, you just think, oh, they're so much better than us in every way, and they should wipe the floor. But I just get that weird feeling we win one of them, at least. I think, weirdly, we win away and lose at home. I've got just a weird feeling. I'm going to say we win this game.
Okay, I love that. Well, week 15 is an interesting one.
There's only one way you can go this one.
It's not, for one, you've just stated something that's completely wrong. It's not an interesting one at all, playing Dolphins. It's a big win. It's a big win for us. We'll beat you guys.
Shut out.
A big win, not just a win, a big win. Is that what you're saying?
I don't see the strengths on your team. I don't see what's the strengths at the minute. Like there isn't. Tyreek Hill, we don't really know what's going on with that. That feels like a bit of a crazy situation. Jalen Waddle's fantastic, was really injury prone last year. Tua, can he stay fit? I don't know. Your team's in a bit of a very, very weird spot. Your defense has not really got anything great on it. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's a win for us there. I think we lose to the Ravens the week before as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can get my thoughts on the Dolphins properly in our Dolphins season preview, which was released the other day. But I just think that if you get a defense back which has Jalen Phillips fully healthy, Bradley Chubb fully healthy, all you got was Zach Sealer there. If the offensive line can stay as a unit and actually protect Tua, you've got Devon Achane to hand the ball off to. Tyreek Hill could have one final swan song. Jalen Waddle, if he stays healthy, is a really good WR2. Don't know whether he's WR1 yet, but certainly as a second choice receiver, you've got him. Obviously, we like Jonnu Smith because he had a good second half of the season last year. And I don't have any faith in Darren Waller, which is something I'm a bit underwhelmed by. We could have gone out and got maybe someone like Dallas Goedert, who's in the contract's final year of his contract. I think he could have gone so much better than Darren Waller. But I think people are writing us off. I don't think we're going to win playoff games or make Super Bowls, but I don't think we're going to be as bad. I think we're going to be a bit like you, like a 9-8, maybe an 8-9. Could sneak in on a good day, could just miss out. I think we'll be in that playoff picture. Whether we'll make it in is a different story, but I can see us being at least competitive, even if we don't win games. And I think week 15, I mean, in the cold as well. I mean, that's one thing we should probably point out, that the Dolphins haven't yet proved in the McDaniel that we can win games in cold weather. And Pittsburgh is, I've been in Pittsburgh in November. It is cold. And I think December will be even colder. So, yeah, I think if it was like a week 4 game or if it was in Miami, I'd have a lot more faith. But yeah, in Pittsburgh Steelers might be a few temperatures too much for us to win that game. Week 16 with you, Freddie Harper-Davis. It is a road game against the Detroit Lions.
Well, weirdly, if I hadn't have said that we'd beaten Baltimore in Baltimore, I'd have said we'd win this game, because the Lions have obviously changed both. They've lost both their coordinators. I don't think they're going to be as good as perhaps they possibly should be. I think it's going to be a bit of a transition year for Detroit. I do like their roster. They've still got some proper talent on it. And I mean, Jared Goff's still the most underrated quarterback in the league. I maintain that. I think he's been really, really good. We'll see how much of an impact it has with Ben Johnson obviously going to Chicago. But I think Detroit are going to be very good. I think they'll be good. I think they'll get. I'm pretty sure they'll win that division. It depends how the Packers get on. It's between them and the Packers. I think the Vikings are a little bit lower, and the Bears, I think, are a year away. But that NFC North is a really, really good division. It's a bit annoying that we've got to play them this year, but I think the Lions have got just a little bit too much for us. So I'll say a Lions win.
Right, okay. So Freddie Hall, your final prediction of the episode and your final road game of the season. You take on the Cleveland Browns.
As I said earlier, usually I split the games. This is the only time I'm not splitting the games. We are going to beat the Browns twice this year. They don't have a quarterback. They don't know who their quarterback is. They have no idea. They don't know whether it's going to be Joe Flacco who does one of these crazy runs, Kenny Pickett, if he can do anything, Dylan Gabriel, a rookie, Shedeur Sanders, a rookie. They don't know. They don't know what they're doing. Their offense hasn't got anything all that sparkling on it either. I admit the defense has got some really good players on it. Myles Garrett, obviously Denzel Ward. They have had injury straws on that defense though as well a lot in the last few seasons. I think we clean sweep them. This offense is not going to be that great at all. Their running backs is interesting. Judkins, who they drafted, that could be fun for them, but I think, we clean sweep them this year.
Okay, so finally, Freddie Harper-Davis from Week 18, at home to the Baltimore Ravens. For the final time this episode, win, lose, or tie.
Well, Week 18 is always a bit of it depends on what teams need in the final day and who's playing where. But I think we beat Baltimore in Baltimore and lose at home, and I'm sticking with it. So I think that the Ravens will win this game. I can't say the Steelers will sweep the Ravens. The Ravens are just too good for that. So I'll go with the Ratbirds.
See, I've gone the other way round because I think this game the Ravens will rest everyone. I think in this game they rest everybody. I think I think by that point the Ravens are potentially maybe number 1 seed. And
I think they'll have the division wrapped up, but I'm not convinced that they'll be.
I'm not convinced either. I'm just saying, hypothetically, they could be the 1 seed. But by this point, I'd say about 4 weeks before, they're probably. By the time, knowing what would probably if they beat us in that game, I think that would be like, right, we are definitely, that's playoff sealed by that time. And then when it comes to Week 18, they'll rest everybody. We'll get the win. But also, I think we'll be fighting for the win to get into the playoffs as well. So, yeah.
Well, there we are. Based on your answers there, both of you combined, you will combine for a 10-7 record. So it's the same as last year.
We both do 10-7. Like I said, I had 9-8, but obviously I changed my mind with the Vikings game. So
let's head into our final section, which is Fan Asks Fan. So in this section, it's a new section to this season's off-season season previews. Each fan who comes on asks a question to our next guest, whilst also answering a question from the previous guest. So our last guest was in our Dallas Cowboys season preview. This was Paul Redmond of Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. And he wants to ask one of you, and I'll let you decide amongst yourselves who answers this question. He wants to know, in the NFL, who will be the biggest breakout player?
Oh, would you like to answer that, Freddie, or shall I?
I'll let you answer that one because I have no idea.
I've got no one to bring. Let me have a little think for a second. You know what? Actually, I'm going to stick on a topic that we had earlier, and I wouldn't say it's breakout because I feel like we know he's good, but I think the step up might be like a wow step up. Drake May. I'm going to go for Drake May, quarterback at New England Patriots. Like I said, I don't think it's a breakout because I think we already know the talent's in there. But I think this might be the year where we go, oh, wow, this is a Drake May that's got a few more weapons, a better coach, a better defense. The defense is more rocking. He's got more opportunities. He's a year in. He's got his feet wet, but now he's settled. He knows how to play in this league. And I think it might be, it could be really interesting watching him there. And Freddie said it earlier, he's probably one of my favorite sort of young quarterbacks, one of the guys that I'm really sort of rooting for to do well. Obviously, I'm not hopefully rooting for the Patriots very often. But obviously, our friend Andy Sky Lawrence Pank, who I assume is going to do the Patriots video with you. He may or may not. I know he's pretty busy at the moment with a lot of things going on. He's a Patriots fan, and you know, I love him and hate Sky. You know, he's a great guy. I like to see his misery on occasion, but it would be great for him to see Drake May, really. And he's believed in Drake since the start as well. So I think, yeah, not necessarily a breakout, but a player that's going to take it to the next level.
I like that answer. Well, I say like the answer. I don't like the fact it's a Patriots player, but it's a good answer. I think he is someone that I think could definitely, go from being, he could even go into that top 10 conversation if he has a really good year. Now, again, I'll let you both amongst yourselves decide who asked the question, but I'll let you now ask your question to our next guest.
I've got quite a good one here, which is what is going to be the bombshell NFL news story that's going to break out in the regular season? There's always one every year. What's that news story?
Hasn't there been one already? Hasn't that just happened in the last few days? Not the New York shooting, obviously. That's horrendous. I'm more saying the Christian Wilkins weirdness that's happening over there.
Yeah, that was
not him being weird, by the way. Like the situation being weird. I think kissing a fellow team out on the top of the head is pretty standard practice in most teams. I think we see it happen very frequently on our screens in all sorts of English sports anyway. So I don't know why the Americans have taken some sort of umbrage to it, but well, I think we all know in the back of our minds why there might be some umbrage to it, but obviously no one's going to outright say that. So yeah, it's all a bit nuts, isn't it? But that's a wicked question. Freddie's completely correct. There's always something pretty nutty mid-season.
Well, there we are. That will be asked in our next team season preview. But this is where we end the episode for today. So, Freddie Hall, Freddie Harper-Davis, thank you both for coming on today.
Thank you very much for having us, Andy. And I'll see you next season, Freddie Harper-Davis. I'll see you on this podcast again.
Well, look forward to seeing both of you throughout the season. But in the meantime, this has been the Across the Pod NFL podcast, Pittsburgh Steelers 2025 season preview. I have been, as ever, your host today, Andy Davis, with our guests in Freddie Hall and Freddie Harper-Davis. Don't forget to follow the Franchise Tag podcast as well. And we'll see you guys for our next team season preview. See you then.